Hello, so we're going to look at this early wild instant unmorph jump in a bit more detail here. This jump is really complicated. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things you have to pay attention to, and a lot of really precise inputs and precise timing windows in which those inputs are doable. To give an overview of what the jump is, basically you have to fall for at least 20 or 21 frames. Any more and you cannot get an instant unmorph out of it, and any less and you don't go down far enough. You have to give really precise analog input in that 21 frames. After those 21 frames, you have to continue giving really precise analog inputs, and you have to press the unmorph button, and you have to immediately, the frame after, press the jump button. There's no variance in that. You have to press them at exactly the frame after 20 or 21 frames of falling, and then you have to follow up your unmorph press with a jump button press, the immediate preceding frame. And there is no room for error with that. It's exactly that precise. So first of all, just to start, I'm just going to play this at full speed for you, just so you can get a feel of how it looks when performed in real time. We're going to look at it in slow motion. We're going to break it down. We're going to go frame by frame and look at inputs and stuff like that. But for now, we'll just look at it. So it's kind of insane. There's a lot happening there, as you can see. Like, realistically, the actual frame window, or like the amount of time that precise stuff is happening, lasts for less than a second. So there's a lot happening there that has to go right in a very, very short period of time. And we'll go over this frame by frame here. So the thing I start doing is I'm in this sort of corner in the wall here. All you have to do is stand on this. You stand on this little twig here. It pushes you up a little bit, and you'll be in the corner here. And it's pretty solid. Like, it's pretty evident if you're in the corner or not. And as you can see on my input here, I'm holding almost exactly in the middle of down right. So I roll. You can see my jump state has changed here, but I actually pick up an on-ground state for 2 frames, which means that I have 2 frames farther that I can fall. And it means that you can actually get a significant more amount of distance in this time, because 2 frames of falling, as you'll see with my velocity, it gets a lot faster. 2 frames of falling is significant. So that getting these extra 2 frames here, I think is actually probably required. Now, you would never have any way of knowing that you got them or not when you're playing in real time in a run setting, but it does act pretty similarly every time. So yeah, so first thing that's difficult, you have no idea whether you have on-ground frames or not for the right amount of time. Secondly, we see, actually, I'll count it out for you here. So we see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 20 frames. I have pressed the unmorph button. And the next frame, I press the jump button right away. Not the most difficult thing to do, of course. Like, to do that, you have a 60th of a second, which is well within most people's reaction times. Especially when it's something that you're not directly reacting to, like you're kind of setting yourself up for, but still difficult, of course. And of course, this is really the last difficult input in the whole shebang as well. So yeah, so you have this. So interestingly enough, you can see here, I press unmorph, and this is the frame that the game is interpreting this input. The next frame, my velocity actually stops. My position maintains the same, but it looks like Samus still falls, even though her position stays the same. She does that for 2 frames, and this is actually being buffered. So you see here, I switch from falling morphed straight to jump. I actually don't even get jump state 3, which is normally required to do an instant unmorph jump. I'll be honest, I don't really know how. It doesn't make sense from our understanding of how the game works and how the mechanics in the game work, but I can tell you that it works. So yeah, so from here, it's just a regular space jump. You'll kind of have an idea if you got it or not. I mean, there's a couple ways to tell. Obviously, you can tell if you just went down far enough. But if you get this sort of like landing animation here, like the ledge clip animation, it usually means that you were down far enough. Especially if there's like not much height left in your second jump. This one only barely made it. We can see here, just to go back to this as well at the beginning. So when we leave our on ground here, again, once I start really moving off of this ledge, I'm holding basically straight to the left. Once I really start falling, so basically the frame that I actually start falling, I start moving my stick upward. I kind of swing it around. I move it upward very quickly and then to upright slightly less quickly. So I don't spend a lot of time in between the cardinals there. And you can see the sort of inputs. Now, these inputs aren't like exactly precise. You don't have to mimic them perfectly. There's actually a decent bit of variance in the input that you can give in order to get an instant unmorph. This is the one that I found seemed to be most consistent. I tried getting to where I need to be and then snapping like straight to the right, and it wasn't working out very consistently for me, so I stopped doing it. And I started doing this method where I kind of like swing around, and I started getting the instant unmorphs almost every time, probably like 80% of the time, which is pretty good. One final thing that I want to show off is you can actually see, you can see how much my velocity increases, but you can also see, so this is where I am when I unmorph. You see there's this sort, oh wait, no, here, sorry. There's this sort of top of this G pattern on the wall. The trigger is only very, very slightly above this. So this is legitimately about as high as you can be and still make it. This was incredibly close to not being low enough, which just goes to show how really difficult this trick is. This camera view is a bit confusing because this G is actually flat. It's level with the ground. It's horizontal. But the camera's tilted, so it makes it look like it's on an angle. But as long as you can touch here, get this close to it, you'll hit the trigger. This is a visual cue technically, but I don't use a visual cue when I'm doing this because it's there's so much happening so fast. It's very difficult to process. I don't think visual cues are really a great way to do a trick like this. Theoretically, yes, you can pause buffer to see exactly where you are, and then unmorph. I was able to do it once doing that, but honestly it seemed more difficult trying to kind of micromanage pausing and unpausing and hitting the right button combos and stuff after that. Might work for you, maybe. Didn't work for me personally, but it is theoretically an option. So yeah, this trick is insane. I don't really know why it works, but with all of this knowledge, I think it's probably RTA viable. I think it's reasonable to expect runs to use this, but like very high level runs, especially because trying this doesn't really lose any time. You would lose probably about 5 seconds to try this, and it saves a pretty good chunk of time, so it's probably worth giving it a shot. There we go. I hope people use this. I hope it is useful. Thank you for watching.